This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Jamie Glazov Moment. I was recently reflecting on a certain conversation that had occurred several years ago. I was on a patio, and there were a lot of very, very cool people on this patio in Los Angeles. And I put the word cool in quotation marks. A lot of wannabe actresses, a lot of wannabe producers, etc. And one particular young lady at one point said, "You know, I wish that we could just find the first person that said, 'Look at the color of my skin.' And they noticed that somebody else had a different color of skin. And they came up to them and said, 'I'm better than you.' And I wish we could just find that person and tell them, 'You're wrong.' And then everything would be solved and everything would be better." And I remember, usually I select my arguments and my battles, but I said to the young lady, "Have you ever heard of the Khmer Rouge?" And she seemed very perplexed. And I said, "Have you heard of Stalin? Have you heard of Mao Zedong, Castro, North Vietnam? Class hatred eliminated more people than racial hatred in the 20th century. We're talking like 100 million people, if not more." And I remember she was very irritated by me. And she was like, "What? Oh, you're weird." And I'll never forget that she didn't want to know anything. Not only did she not know what I was talking about, but she didn't want to know. And this is not an unusual conversation. In fact, even though this particular lady sounds like a moron and an imbecile, her belief system is actually the belief system that prevails in our entire higher literary culture, our media, in academia, in our government, in Hollywood. This belief, number one, that somehow racial hatred is the only hatred, and once you get rid of that hatred, everything will be better. A complete rejection and also denial of what class hatred is. Now, what I'm getting to here is, even to this young lady, I actually told her afterwards, if she's so interested in racism, why is she not interested in the Islamic Arab slave trade that continues today and enslaves black people in Africa? And she was just shocked and didn't want to know about this. What I'm getting to here is this mindset that has constructed boundaries of debate in our society today. This thing about quote-unquote racism is exactly what's killing us today. And I don't mean that we should be for racism. What I'm talking about is the mislabeling of what is racist and what is not racism, and this trepidation and fear of being called a racist. And so my point today, my friends, is we have something called hijra happening. It's jihad-by-immigration. It's based in Islamic theology. ISIS is practicing it at this very moment. They are flooding Europe and they are flooding America with Muslim quote-unquote refugees, camouflaging terrorists. Thousands of terrorists are being poured into the United States, into Western Europe, and nothing is being done about it. There is no screening. No Muslim immigrant or refugee is being asked if they believe in jihad, if they believe in Sharia, if they believe in Islamic law. None of this is happening because it could be considered racist, quote unquote. And we all know that Islam isn't even a race, it's an ideology. And my point here is that an ideology has declared war on the West, on the Kafir. This ideology caused 9/11, Fort Hood, the Chattanooga jihad attack, the Boston Marathon massacre. And what you would think is, when an ideology is perpetrating this kind of violence, you would think that the victims would say, what should we do? Should we lower the members of the ideology living in our territory, or should we hire the members of the ideology living in our territory? Let me see. Let's just open up the gates and flood our territory with members of this ideology. That's what's happening today. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a suicide happening in our culture and in our society. the moron and imbecile that I referred to at the beginning of this show, of this episode, this is the thinking that's prevailing in our culture today, in our society, which is blocking our ability to defend ourselves from jihad. My point, final point, do something. Read a book. Get a book by David Horowitz called Take No Prisoners. It explains what the left's battle is. It explains how to fight the left. Join an organization like the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Make a change. This is an organization that's fighting the left and fighting jihad. Contribute or join an organization called like the Counter Jihad Coalition, which is on the streets, distributing brochures and pamphlets and information to our public and to our citizens. Call your leaders. Call the media. Enter the field. Enter this culture war. Make a change to defend America. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next Jamie Glazov Moment. Good night.